This interview is being conducted for the Veterans History Project for the Library of Congress. The veteran's name is Wyatt B. Haney Jr. He was born on March 17, 1922. He served in the Pacific during World War II. We're recording this on 10/17/2018. I'm Will Hines and conducting this interview, no relation. So, Mr. Wyatt, thank you for allowing me the chance to talk to you today. I'd love to hear about your life growing up in Charlottesville. You grew up in, you said, a rural area. Were you a farm boy? Did you work the farm? What was your life like growing up, especially during the Depression?
On a farm?
Yes, sir.
Well, I was just a day worker, and I farmed, hoed, I drove tractors, and drove a team of horses in the summertime to gather hay or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed busy.
Mm-hmm.
Working on a farm was quite a job. There wasn't much mechanics. It was all done by manual labor and horses.
Yeah.
We had a couple of mules at one time that we worked, but in the fields we plowed with a backhoe, which was a hoe that you hook a mule to,
Mm-hmm.
and they pull it around the field, and you work it that way.
So how many brothers and sisters did you have?
How many what?
How many brothers and sisters did you have? How many siblings did you have?
5 sisters, no brothers.
So you were the man of the house.
I was the man of the house, but I worked.
You worked hard.
Yeah.
And how much do you remember during the Depression, did things get really tough? Did you start, could you tell that, hey, you didn't have much money, that the economy was struggling? It was just life as always?
We didn't talk money.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't do it. Didn't have any. But we worked on a farm that you just worked 6 days a week. And cut corn, picked beans, did the thing that most farmers would do that didn't have a whole lot of income.
Mm-hmm.
And
So did you go to a local high school there? Did you have to walk to school?
Yeah. I was played basketball. I was on a varsity basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't play football. Track, I did track, and we did a whole lot of interstate sports.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you graduated around 1940, because you would have been 18 years old. So what did you do after you graduated? Did you stay on the farm?
No, I went to the apprentice school at Newport News. which is a journeyman's camp that you go to learn a trade. So I went to the shipyard and learned to be a mechanic, and stayed there until I went to the apprentice school and became an apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a machinist.
Mm-hmm.
And my job was to work on ships that came in that had been bombed or tore off for some reason, and would repair them so to go back to sea. And
So you weren't in the Navy when you were working on a lot of those ships, because that was early in the war.
no, that was before I was in the Navy. Before I became a sailor,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in the Navy about 3 years, I guess, and sailed the Britannic, spent a lot of time at sea.
Mm-hmm. So early in the war, you weren't in the Navy yet, but you were still working on a lot of ships that were bombed because you were a machinist. So did you learn how to weld? Did you know how to weld the ships? I mean, what did that look like?
I was a machinist,
Okay.
and being a machinist, I would serve my apprenticeship as a machinist, and I served a lot of time aboard ship, repairing equipment that was broken down, and I was aboard the ship. A lot of times in the South Pacific, when the war was on, and we would have to repair our own equipment. We'd do this.
So, Mr. Wyatt, you enlisted
Yeah.
in the Navy in 1944. So what made you want to enlist and stop working in the shipyards, but actually enlist and go into the Navy?
I really don't know, but I worked the shipyard, then I joined the Navy and spent a lot of time in the South Pacific,
Mm-hmm.
around Iwo Jima, Guam, Okinawa, back in those days.
So can you talk about, so you get in the Navy, and I'm assuming you go through some type of training. So you went through some type of boot camp, normal training.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I went to boot camp at Camp Perry, Virginia, which is down next to Williamsburg. And our training included, well, we got all kind of marching change. And we,
So you probably did a lot of physical training, a lot of exercise, a lot of running, and they probably wore you guys out. And did you do any weapons training? Did you go to the rifle range? And,
yes, we had that.
Yeah.
We shot rifles on a field, and we had a lot of training on board ship. With use of weapons and how to use them and that kind of thing.
So you finished basic training in Virginia, and do they ship you, or do they train you all the way to San Diego, or how did you get onto a ship? What did that look like?
I had been trained as a machinist to run a machine shop on a ship. And I did that for about 3 years, I guess.
So, yeah, you're welcome.
You don't you remember they put you on a train? And you went on a train and you went all the way to Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
And what did you do in Oregon? Do you remember?
Yeah.
What'd you do?
It is training. I was really a Navy man then, and we trained as a sailor. And a lot of the things we did then, we would.
Didn't you go to firefighters? Did you have to go to firefighter school?
Oh, yeah.
In the woods in Oregon, near Astoria?
Oregon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk about firefighter school. What did you have to do there?
Yeah, we're going would fight fires that somebody had already set. And
Wasn't that your first time being out of the state of Virginia?
my first one?
You had never been out of the state of Virginia when you went there.
I don't think so.
No. Do you remember your first Christmas? Where were
First
you?
what?
Your Christmas away from home, and you were at a USO club. Do you remember that? And you heard a Christmas song? Bing Crosby singing White Christmas.
Yeah.
And you got homesick and wrote a letter to grandmother,
Yeah.
didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Bing Crosby was very popular
Yes.
during the time that I was in the Navy.
And you met movie stars too, didn't you?
Huh?
Didn't you meet some movie stars?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because of the USO Club.
But I've forgotten who they were.
Well, it's okay.
That's not important. So you're in Oregon, and you go to firefighter training school. And where did you go after that?
Well, I stayed with the Navy, I guess, aboard ship. And helped run the ship that was U.S. transport. We carried troops from the Atlantic Ocean to the battlefront, and
Wasn't it the Pacific Ocean?
huh?
You were in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh yeah.
The Pacific, yeah.
So
Iwo Jima, Okinawa.
So you are on a ship transporting soldiers, Marines,
That's right.
people in the Army, and you're transporting them from San Diego to Hawaii to islands in the Pacific.
Yeah, Anahuac.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, from what I understand, did you drive a Higgins boat onto the beaches and transport soldiers?
Did you?
Did you drive an amphibious boat?
I did. But that wasn't my main duty. I was...
What was on that boat? That amphibious boat?
It was... It carried about 20 men, and we were being assigned to an outpost, which was nothing more than something like a cruise ship, except that we didn't have all the fancy stuff. We were on a ship, and a lot of times we go to an island somewhere. And I remember in the Pacific, we used to go to an island in what we call Liberty. They give us one beer, and we'd drink a beer and spend the day playing softball or something like that.
So that was your R&R time. That was your downtime.
That was it. Yeah. And
So on Iwo Jima, did you shuttle troops from your ship onto the island?
yes,
And what type of, were you driving a Higgins boat where the ramp drops?
yeah,
So you were a Higgins boat driver
yeah.
with the machine guns mounted on it.
Yeah, they had them. I wasn't a machinist.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wasn't a gunner.
Right, but you were the driver.
Yeah.
And so you would, the ships carrying those Higgins boats,
Yeah.
those boats that you drove, so they would open up the front, and would the ships or the Higgins boats come out of the ship? Did they
That's right.
store them underneath?
Yeah.
So you drove it out, and then you drove it up alongside the boat, so the men with the nets could climb down into your boat, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And how was that difficult? Because I've heard stories of people trying to drive, and stay beside a boat and having men, climb down in and stay secure. Was that challenging?
I don't recall it as being a big challenge. You just did it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the job. And
So on Iwo Jima, do you remember seeing Iwo Jima for the first time, and what went through your mind?
yeah, I remember the Iwo Jima
Mm-hmm.
in Okinawa.
Do you remember the black volcanic sand on
Yes.
Iwo Jima?
Yes,
It was different from anything you'd ever
that's
seen.
exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
And so as you're transporting these men to the beach, do you remember what wave you were in? Were you in the first wave, the second wave, or the third wave?
I don't know.
And so as you're driving them to the beach, were you getting enemy fire? You know, mortars going off and...
I don't recall,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure that we got under enemy fire at times. But you just accepted what was, and that you just did what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we were on board ship in the Pacific. Oh, I guess a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And
So my great uncle was in the 2nd Marine Division, and he landed on Okinawa. And so just wanted to throw that out there that you could have, maybe been one of the ones shuttling him to shore on the amphibious vehicle.
yeah,
Do you remember Okinawa specifically, or Iwo Jima? Let's actually still talk about Iwo Jima. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind from the battle? I know you were on a ship, but you were involved transporting men. Is there any stories that you can think of that just stick out in your mind?
well, we were part of a Lane's crew. In other words, we would go ahead and take cruise on the different parts of the island to see what they had and what kind of equipment that they still had and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that until the end of World War II. And then at the end of the war, we did maneuvers
Mm-hmm.
on Navy ships, would make out like we're going to have a battle somewhere and get in some fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't do too much fighting.
Yeah. Mr. Wyatt, do you remember seeing the flag on Mount Suribachi on Iwo? Do you remember seeing the U.S. flag?
I don't have a flag, and I don't recall that I had one, but I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
because they did crazy things when you're in service like that, and you did what you kind of wanted to do and kind of followed what the others were doing that were in,
Mm-hmm.
and we were part of a battalion that we would go and go where the island residents were, or where the Japs had been, and rebuild the
Airfields? Did you rebuild airfields and
yeah
the fences?
yeah.
So,
What about prisoners of war?
prisoners of war?
Did you all take Japanese prisoners of war on your ship?
Oh yeah.
Can you,
Tell me how they reacted to being on your ship.
They were very dumb.
How were they? Why do you think that? What did they do that make you think that?
They were mechanically oriented at all, and knew nothing about ships. All I knew is had to get on one and go to an island or something like that.
Yeah.
What about the water fountains?
Oh. When we got a bunch of them off of, I guess it's Iwo Jima, prisoners, they had no idea what a water fountain was. They wouldn't drink out of it. The only way they'd get a drink of water would be out of a tin can. And everybody kind of got the water for drinking purposes out of a tin can.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did they wear a special kind of underwear? Did you ever notice any kind of unusual thing about their underwear?
Of the Japanese
Yeah.
prisoners?
no, we didn't. You mean Japanese?
Yeah, their underwear. Did you notice anything?
Yeah, but I've forgotten what it was.
Was it a flag?
Yeah, they had a flag.
Were they wearing their flag as underwear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You told me that one time.
So, you know the famous picture of the flag being raised at Iwo Jima
Yeah.
on Mount Suribachi.
Yeah.
Did you see that flag on Mount Suribachi? You know, the flag that was raised in the famous picture?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I forgot.
Yeah.
But I was at.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there.
What were the Marines saying to you as you were taking them over to Iwo Jima? Did they talk to you while you were driving the boat? Nobody was saying anything?
No.
It was quiet.
Were they throwing up? Were they seasick?
No, it was a very solemn time. You know, and conditions like that, you could easily get shot. And people were very, very solemn. They took what they were going to do serious and went about their business. And I think that came off of Iwo Jima.
Yes, sir, I think it did.
You can show the camera. Would you like to hold it? And so where did you? So you got that from a Marine who had you had been gambling with, and you won that knife.
Everybody had an issue of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a weapon that you carried and protected because that's what all he had. He didn't have any other weapons at all. So we didn't have any small arms fire. We just had that size pistol and we had for working in the field on maneuvers, we had a gun like a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, this knife though, what was that Marine being carried back from Iwo Jima on your ship? And you all were going back to Hawaii, and so you guys were playing cards, and you wanted, I think,
I don't know.
I think you told me that when I was a little girl,
Yeah.
that he was going back, I think,
Yeah.
and you all were.
No, that one's that has seen action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has.
And that's the one that, well, I carried.
You carried it after the war.
Yeah.
You carried it. Didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you use that as a hunting knife?
Huh?
Did you use that as a hunting knife? Did you carry it sometimes?
I did.
I think I remember
Yeah.
that you did do that.
Yeah.
So is there anything from, I know Okinawa was after Iwo Jima, so Iwo Jima was your first battle transporting troops
Yeah.
from the ship to the island. So is there anything that happened on Okinawa that you remember that is a story that kind of comes to mind that you'd like to share?
Well, the thing that I remember is that everybody was young,
Mm.
and
Dad, what happened with the water? Remember, you had to turn salt water into fresh water. Remember, you had to do that?
yeah,
What happened when you did that the first time?
I screwed up.
Yes, you did. Tell them
Oh,
what
no.
you did. Yes. What did you do?
I made the fresh water, but I put it all in the drain.
Put it all down back into the ocean.
That's not good.
And what did the commander do?
He didn't know no better either.
He didn't.
Was he was your commanding officer pretty mad at you, or did you just act like you didn't do it?
No, we did it, no question about that. But the commanding officer was a young buck. They were young then. And he would try to encourage us to do things a certain way on board ship, and which we did.
Well, let me ask you this, Dad. As a machinist down in the ship, did they close that door? Did they close the door?
You better believe
And
it.
why did they do that?
In case the ship got hit and was bombed, the bomb likely will only be in one area of the ship. And they closed that so that there wouldn't be any spread of the fire to other parts of the ship.
Or water, probably.
So,
Did you have to sleep down there?
oh yeah.
And what did you sleep in?
A sleeping bag.
Yeah? Did you have a hammock?
I don't remember everything. No.
Okay, I was just wondering. Were you scared having to be locked in there?
You get used to it.
Was it hot?
Oh yeah.
One time, if you were worried, you all saw a plane, I think you told me. What did you do to camouflage your ship so people couldn't see it from the air? What did you do? What did the...
Well, we would camouflage the ship, but put different designs on the side.
Did you have pots that would bring up smoke?
Oh yeah.
What are they called? I don't know. Do you know?
I've forgotten.
So they'd get these big pots and they would make a lot of smoke.
Yeah.
So from the air, you couldn't see the ship in that smoke, right?
No, I guess you could see it, but
It would be hard to drop a bomb on it when there's smoke everywhere. You can't.
You wouldn't know exactly where it was. One time, did you all think you were getting attacked when the deck was hot? Did you have to run to a gun? And did you almost burn your feet on the hot deck? Well, maybe
Well, Mr. Wyatt, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you for spending some time with me and letting me talk to you and get to hear your story. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service, too.
good.